Yinka and Dr. Alex are investigating the pressures put on women to look a certain way in new Naked Education in an hour's time. Now, it's the Channel 4 News with Matt Frei and Jackie Long.
Another arrest at the top of the SNP. This time it's the man who's been in charge of the party's money for almost 2 decades, questioned by police amid growing political chaos. Good evening. Scotland's brand new First Minister, Humza Yousaf, had hoped to use his parliamentary address today to press the much-needed reset button after a month of turmoil. Instead, he had to say that his morning's arrest of the SNP treasurer was not helpful, while apparently ruling out suspending Colin Beattie, the treasurer, as well as the former chief executive, Peter Murrell, who was arrested 2 weeks ago, and his wife, former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, from the party. The mess is a gift to Scottish Labour and to the Tories. Instead of talking about independence, the SNP is having to explain away a luxury camper van and what happened to £650,000 in party funds.
Also tonight, a US journalist appears in a Russian court charged with spying. The Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich denies trying to obtain classified information for the US. 40 countries around the world called for his release. Hunting foxes has been banned for nearly 2 decades, but exclusive figures tonight suggest hundreds of foxes are still being chased down by hounds. So, is the ban holding? Breaking fast in the world of top-class football. For the first time, Premier League football clubs allow Muslim players to break their Ramadan fast at sundown, even if it's during matches. What does it mean to the players?
Humza Yousaf began his first big speech in office this afternoon by admitting, perhaps by way of some understatement, that being First Minister has its challenges. At that very moment, his party's treasurer was being questioned by the police. In his speech, he tried to shake off the tag of continuity candidate by pressing pause on some of Nicola Sturgeon's defining policies. Amelia Jen is in Edinburgh for us. Amelia, thank you very much. Well, Scotland's First Minister wasn't the only political leader trying to address trouble within his party ranks. Rishi Sunak has been trying to head off rebellions from the Conservative backbenchers in Westminster. Been there, done that. Paul McNamara is in Downing Street for us now. Paul, thanks very much. Jackie.
Now, for the second consecutive day, someone on the wrong side of Vladimir Putin has been paraded in front of cameras in a Russian courtroom cage. Yesterday, opposition activist Vladimir Kara-Murza was jailed for 25 years for criticising the Ukraine invasion. Today, it was the turn of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, who denies charges of spying on behalf of the US. His appeal against pre-trial detention was denied by the Moscow court. Earlier, the Kremlin released pictures of President Putin in Russian-occupied eastern Ukraine, where he apparently toured military headquarters in the Kherson and Luhansk regions. Our international editor, Lindsay Hilson, reports.
Lindsay Hilson reporting. Now, tanks have been heard firing in Sudan's capital less than 3 hours into what was supposed to be a 24-hour ceasefire. Heavy fighting and bombardments had already continued right up until it was due to take effect at 4 p.m. UK time, with plumes of smoke seen hanging over Khartoum. More than 180 people have now been killed since Saturday, when the violence broke out between forces loyal to the country's top rival generals.
It is a shocking statistic. Black women are 4 times more likely than white women to die during childbirth in NHS hospitals in England and Wales. A statistic made all the more shocking by the fact we've known it for years, yet little seems to improve. Now MPs are demanding action. A new report from the Commons Women's Equality Committee says the government and NHS leadership have underestimated the extent to which racism plays a role and has called for a more focused government strategy. Serena Barker-Singh reports. Well, earlier I talked to Dr. Christina Ketchy, a consultant obstetrician who contributed to the report. I asked her why it was that so little has improved in the 20 years since the problem came to light.
Now, the global great and the global good have descended on Northern Ireland in recent days to celebrate 25 years of the Good Friday Agreement, and they have begged the Democratic Unionist Party to get back to power sharing at Stormont. It hasn't worked. Not yet. The DUP's leader, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, said today that unionists will not be browbeaten into submission over their cross-border trade concerns. And he had stronger words about Northern Ireland Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris. Tonight, one of those great and good, Bill Clinton, is visiting London, and we should be able to show you live pictures. Where are they? There you are. Okay, this is actually earlier. This is Bill Clinton in the Guildhall Tap House in Derry. And of course, he was important because he visited Northern Ireland in 2000. And he was absolutely crucial with concocting the Northern Ireland Agreement 25 years ago. Let's go to Andy Davis, who was there for us. Andy, you're in the middle of it all.
Senator George Mitchell there, ending that report by Andy Davis. Now, the real value of people's pay has now fallen for 15 months in a row, according to the latest official figures. And public sector workers are still facing a sharper squeeze than those in the private sector. Our economics correspondent, Helia Ebrahimi, joins me now. Helia, thanks very much. Matt.
Thanks, Jackie. Now, hunting foxes was banned 18 years ago, but is it carrying on regardless? New figures from the League Against Cruel Sports, shared exclusively with this programme, suggested in the last hunting season there were over 500 incidents of what appears to be illegal hunting. Trail hunting, which is following of an animal scent by dogs, is of course allowed, but anti-hunt campaigners report spotting 400 foxes being chased by hounds. While the authorities in Scotland are cracking down, our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson, has been out to see how foxes fare in England and Wales. And the warning, his report contains distressing images. Alex Thompson with that special report. Now, students at a Missouri high school in the United States have walked out in support of their classmate Ralph Yarl, a black teenager who was shot twice after ringing the wrong doorbell. Hundreds of people took part in what they called a unity walk to show their support for Ralph, who's now recovering at home from gunshots to his arm and his head. An 84-year-old white man has been charged with shooting him when he mistook the man's house for an address where he was due to pick up his younger brothers. It is billed as the case that will lift the lid on Fox News and how America's most influential right-wing television news channel is accused of supporting Donald Trump's big lie that the 2020 presidential election was a big steal. Voting machine company Dominion is suing Fox for $1.6 billion in damages. The trial has just been getting underway in Delaware, and Kieran Woodley is there for us. Kieran, what's the latest? Kieran Woodley in Delaware, thank you very much indeed. Well, Brian Stelter is one of America's best-known media commentators. He's the author of a book called Hoax, Donald Trump, Fox News, and the Dangerous Distortion of Truth. A very relevant title there, Brian Stelter. Good to have you on the programme. What are you going to be looking out for as this trial gets underway? Brian Stelter in the United States, thank you very much indeed. Jackie.
Thanks.
Now, after the break, football and fasting. We hear from two Muslim stars of the Premier League and the Women's Super League on how the new policy of pausing matches to allow them to break their Ramadan fast is doing far more than just allowing them to grab a much-needed drink.
Now, for the first time this season, Premier League football clubs have agreed to allow Muslim players to break their Ramadan fast at sundown, which can happen during matches. Stars like Liverpool's Mo Salah and Chelsea's N'Golo Kante have been allowed to drink water at pitchside by referees who pause the game. The iftar, or breaking of the fast during matches, hasn't just allowed players to rehydrate. As our sports reporter Jordan Jarrett Bryan has been finding out, it has meant that top-flight football has started to feel far more inclusive for Muslim players, fans, and of course, communities. Tonight's main news: Scotland's new First Minister has admitted that his party is facing challenges after his treasurer was arrested by police probing the SNP's finances. Hamza Yusuf said that the timing of the arrest was far from ideal, and it came on the day when he made his first major speech since taking over from Nicola Sturgeon.
And before you go, this Friday's Unreported World comes from Brazil, investigating how illegally mined gold could be in your phone. Guillermo Galdos is deep in the Amazon with federal police who've been investigating how companies could be sourcing their gold from protected areas, ramifications for tech firms using Brazilian gold in their products.
The police said that they're going to bust the mine now because the rainy season is about to start and they will have to wait for months, and that might be too late.
Well, that's all we have time for this evening. We're back at 7 tomorrow night.
Until then, that is Channel 4 News. Have a good evening.
Good evening.
The temperature's perfect. DeLonghi Bean to Cup coffee machines sponsor Weather on 4.
Good evening. It's been dry and fine with spells of sunshine for many of us today, and that's how it'll stay over the next couple of days too.